everybody, and thank you for attending today's summit. So as Heather said, I'm Kim Kafka, and I'm an admissions specialist with the college. Today, I'm going to cover some information on SANS Technology Institute, specifically as it relates to our pen test and incident response graduate certificate programs. And the SANS Technology Institute is an accredited college, and we offer programs at the graduate as well as the undergraduate level. I'll review the school's programs, including the admissions requirements and curriculum review, and talk a little bit more in detail about the programs that we mentioned above. In addition, I'm so excited to introduce Brendan McKeague. Brendan is a current incident response student, as well as, very impressively, a pen testing and ethical hacking program alumni. So he is also a security professional at FireEye. And after a brief overview of SANS.edu, Brendan will answer questions regarding the graduate certificate programs, his specific experience as a student at SANS.edu, and how it has impacted his career thus far. So we're very excited to hear from him soon. So just to start, I wanted to give a brief overview of the college. We have certificate programs as well as a master's degree program and bachelor degree programs. So until recently, the SANS Technology Institute offered programs exclusively at the graduate level. And this is most of what you'll see outlined here on this slide. But first, to give you a little background on the master's program, in 2005, the SANS leadership and the SANS faculty looked down the road to identify that part of the cybersecurity workforce shortage was not only going to be the need for individuals with hands-on technical skills, but that there was also going to be a need for a layer of individuals that could both manage projects and teams on a technical level, but also communicate up to the C-suite and understand business needs. So with that in mind, they worked first to define what the skills are that this individual would need to become an effective leader. And then they developed the curriculum around SANS training classes, GX certifications, research papers, and group projects. So since then, we have launched graduate certificate programs, which are technically focused progressions of courses that map to more individual job roles. And in early 2019, we launched our first program at the undergraduate level, which was very exciting because this allowed for people newer to the cybersecurity industry to come into cybersecurity and learn from the ground up. So this ACS program, as we call it, lays the foundation not only for a career in cybersecurity, but for advanced education at SANS. So this would include the master's degree if eventually they want to work towards that milestone. And then lastly, as of this very past November 2020, we added a bachelor's degree program in applied cybersecurity. And this program is designed to be an upper division program for students who received a bachelor degree from the SANS Institute. So this is unprecedented. We've never had a degree at the undergraduate level before. Students first need to come in with some kind of associate degree or credits that equal an associate degree, and then they can spend their last 2 years at SANS.edu receiving their Bachelor of Science from us. So in today's presentation, we're highlighting the graduate certificate programs in pen testing and incident response. And these programs, as I mentioned, they're shorter, technically focused programs that are specialized in one area of cybersecurity. So, but you can see from this slide, we offer 7 graduate certifications. And also in breaking news, we're adding a cloud security program scheduled to launch this spring. So we're making it 8. The course structure offers greater flexibility than the master's degree programs because the courses take on, as we said, a very specific track, and they're taken on average roughly every 6 months or 2 per year. So overall, a student can take 30 months to complete this program, which is a lot more flexible than a full-time master's program. So now it is a great time to hear from Brendan. I'm sure this is why most of you are watching today. And as I mentioned in my introduction, Brendan has been in our graduate certificate programs since 2017, first as a pen testing student, and now almost done with his graduate certificate in incident response. And he is currently a senior threat analyst at FireEye Mandiant. So Brendan, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, Kim, of course. Real quick, it's the other way around. I completed the incident response, and I'm currently finishing up the penetration testing one.
My apologies. Oh,
that's okay.
Mix that up. I'm glad you cleared that up. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so I'd love to begin by hearing a bit about your background and the steps that led you to SANS.edu graduate programs.
Yeah, sure. So let's go back a few years, back to 2017. And at the time, I was working at one of the Big Four firms in their cybersecurity practice. Not a super technical role. And I think it was about fall 2017 where I got to my first SANS course. I wasn't in the program yet. It was the Security 560 GPen course. And of course, I'd heard of SANS before, but as my first course, I thought it really opened my eyes in terms of the quality of instruction and just the depth of materials.
Mhm.
And so after taking that, I really got more interested in SANS and just doing research. I found out that SANS had the graduate certificate programs. And in the fall of 2017, I was finishing up my master's at a different institution. But I sort of was left with the feeling as I was getting to the end of my degree that I wanted more. And I think that's something that a lot of people in this industry get. They're curious, they're always wanting to learn.
Mhm.
And finishing up my master's degree, I just wanted something else. And so I applied to the SANS Incident Response Graduate Certificate Program.
That is great. I tell my students all the time that it is so interesting to me that people who already have a master's would still come into a program like this. And I love that that's your background and that's where you came from. Why did you choose SANS when you were looking around at sort of something more that you wanted after your master's? What drew you to the specific coursework?
I got to say, it was the first SANS course that I took. It was taught by Matt Toussaint.
Mhm.
And it was a phenomenal course. And I just want to go back for a second. The reason I got my master's degree was because my bachelor's degree was in a liberal arts field. It was political science.
Mhm.
So to me, getting that master's was sort of a necessary step while I was transitioning into the security field. But again, I can think of maybe 3 out of 10 courses in my graduate degree that I really thought were relevant to what I was doing. And so, about the time that I started the Incident Response Graduate Certificate Program, I just started at FireEye. I joined their managed defense team, and I couldn't think of a better program that was specifically focused on incident response.
Mhm.
That I mean, I can recall taking a SANS course like the GCFA, and then going in and specifically using techniques that I learned in that course directly in my day-to-day job.
That's that's amazing. We love to hear that. So that leads into my next question, which is how did the program contribute to your career, I guess, thus far, and even in your day to day? How did it benefit, and where did you see yourself going once you were part of the program?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. When I look at it, I look at my trajectory taking the graduate certificate programs. It's sort of aligned with my trajectory at FireEye. So, I mentioned I started at managed defense. That's FireEye's managed detection and response service. Doing incident response every single day. But I've actually had the privilege of being part of 3 different teams during my time at FireEye. I started in managed defense. I spent a little bit of time on the cyber espionage team, and currently I'm on the Flare Advanced Practices team. And when I look back at especially the courses in the Incident Response Graduate Certificate Program, I mean, immediately the GCFA, 100% relevant. I think within a month after taking that course, passing the certification, I think I wrote 2 internal blogs, taking specific techniques that I learned in that course and applying it to sort of the day-to-day job that I was doing. Same thing with the reverse engineering course. I had taken a course in my graduate degree, and while that was a good course, the depth that you go into and sort of the different open source tools that you're exposed to, I mean, 100% relevant to what I was doing.
That's amazing. Do you think that people on the job, that colleagues and people you worked with, noticed that difference as you were going? I'm always curious. Like, did they notice that all of a sudden you had this new wealth of knowledge that you were bringing to the job every day?
Yeah, we could ask them, see what they say, but it's
Yeah.
it's really hard to find that direct correlation. But while I've been taking these 2 graduate certificate programs, I've been at the same company.
Yeah.
But when I look at job postings, it's not uncommon to see a job posting in the IR field, and some of the certificates that they mentioned, they are in the program. Same thing with red teaming and pen testing. These are certificates that are in the program. while I'm not a red teamer, I'm not a pen tester.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm getting ahead, but the reason I wanted to do that after the incident response program is not because I want to be that, but because I want to be a better blue teamer. And you can't trade the knowledge that you get from actually knowing what it's like to deploy some of the tools and use them,
Mhm.
and how easy it can be, but also some of the friction points that an adversary might face while they're using these tools and techniques.
That makes so much sense. So this might lead into that, but I guess, I wanted to ask you to explain what you were finding most valuable, which I think you have touched upon certainly, so you can expand on that. But also, what was the biggest surprise in the program, sort of in the content, in the design of it?
I you know the I wouldn't call it a surprise, but one of the bonuses of it was just the quality of instruction, and the quality of the instructors. I feel like anytime I've been to a SANS course, and I've been to a good number of them,
Mhm.
there's always talk of A, the course has just been refreshed, or B, it's in the middle of being refreshed. So I think it's kept up to date and relevant.
Mhm.
But in terms of some of the surprises, I think one of the best things about the graduate certificate program specifically is the flexibility that it offers you. Um, you, you know, I don't know if it's changed, but back when I started in 2018, my advisor let me start off with the Forensics 508 course because I thought that was the most relevant to me at the time. And while that might have been more advanced than say this SEC 504, the GCIH,
Mhm.
well, I did that last because I didn't think that I needed it at that time, and my advisor was okay with that, and they worked with me. Um, and a second benefit of this is the flexibility in terms of how long do you want to spend to complete a course.
Mhm.
There were courses that I took, for example, the reverse engineering course. I spent a lot of time on that because I needed a little bit more experience. I needed to go through the labs. But when it came to the SEC 504, the GCIH, that was a little bit easier to me, and I think I completed that, within 6 weeks or something like that. So the flexibility was really surprising.
That's great because that is something that people worry about, just as they're going. So, with that, what advice would you offer to someone who's looking to attempt this type of program, including advice worried for those worried about time, life and work balance, things like that?
If I could go back in time and just looking at, you know, getting my master's degree and sort of how long it took to see benefit from that,
Mhm.
it almost would have, in hindsight, it would have been better to do something like the graduate certificate program. And I say that because when you're getting a graduate degree, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take 2 to 3 years. And what kind of tangible benefits do you see from that while you're taking it?
Mhm.
So, in one sense, I could be halfway done with a master's degree, but do employers care about that?
Right.
I mean, for the sake of knowledge, it's good, but conversely, if you even if you just take one course of a graduate certificate program, it comes with a industry recognized
Mhm.
certification.
Mhm.
So, I think the benefit is realized faster in the graduate certificate programs. And of course, I know that you can transfer those credits from the graduate certificate program into the full SANS master's program if you wanted to.
Mhm.
And in terms of time commitment, um, it's very manageable. It's doable. And there's flexibility. So outside of those first 6 days where you're actually taking the course 8 hours a day or more, after that it's on the student's time, and that makes it very easy to manage.
Right. That makes sense. So, expanding upon that, did you take all your courses in that sort of boot camp style, 6 days of content, and then you did the rest all yourself? Did you do any other modalities?
So I've done both. I've done the on demand. I've done live in person. I've done live streaming on demand because of COVID. I would
Mhm.
prefer the live in person any day of the week just because of the interaction that you get face to face, the
Mhm.
people that you meet there. It was really interesting in the incident response certificate program. I was able to go to a bunch of the courses that were held in Bethesda, and it was funny. I would take a course maybe once every quarter, and you would keep running into the same people, and it was really cool to build those relationships.
That is cool. We talk about the networking a lot at these events. When they can happen again, we'll be so happy because, coffee and donuts, and we do dinners and, happy hours and things like that. So it's fun to network. Would you say that there's any difference in content though between an on-demand or a live in person or live online for that matter? Have you found them all to be consistent?
It's consistent, and the delivery system that they use for on demand, it works really well. I would say, in some ways, it's nice to have the on demand portion. If maybe you're struggling with a topic, you can go back and you can rewatch that video. I took it for the reverse engineering course, and at the time, with not much experience in that specific domain, it was helpful to continue to go back and watch that over and over again for certain sections.
Great. Yeah, that can be helpful, and just something that a crutch that you have as you go through the program, which is nice. So to finish up, tell me, where do you see your career headed? Do you think this will change your trajectory in any way? Do you have sort of ambitions that go beyond, and you know, of course, at your same company? But I'm just curious: is there another venue you're going to pursue because of these programs?
It's hard to make predictions, but the way I look at it, um, I took sort of two different graduate certificate programs, the incident response and penetration testing one. But what's nice about it is a lot of the SANS courses actually complement each other.
Hmm.
For example, the reverse engineering one, it exposes you to assembly. That's what you see in SEC 660, the GXPN, and that can be difficult to see for the first time.
Mhm.
Once you go through this program, there was quite a bit of crossover with it. And in terms of looking forward and what does this mean for my future, I think that's hard to say. But when you look at leadership positions, a lot of that has to do with working across cross-functional teams.
Mhm.
And the way I see it, like I said before, knowing a little bit about pen testing and red teaming, that makes me a better blue teamer. And then hopefully down the line, I can help use that experience and merge the two.
Well, I think that's amazing. I am sure you will be doing incredible things, maybe even a SANS instructor one day. Who knows? All right. So, Brendan, I'm going to have you stay with us because I notice a few questions are coming in the chat, and I'm just going to wind up the presentation with a few more admissions details and then get to those. And my guess is they're probably for you. So, it's a good time. Anyone who has some specific questions, either for myself or for Brendan, you can absolutely put them in the chat. We'll try to get to them before we finish out this presentation. Otherwise, we will be available in a chat room after. So again, before we close, I just wanted to touch briefly on two areas where we often get a number of questions: funding and admissions requirements. So SANS.edu is eligible for a number of funding options, such as the VA educational benefits, including GI Bill. Employer tuition reimbursement is a very popular form of funding. We are a Title IV approved school, so that makes us eligible for most tuition reimbursement programs. And if neither of those are options for you, we do have a tuition payment plan for students at both the graduate certificate level as well as the master's degree level. We divide the tuition into equal monthly payments. There's no interest and there's no fees. And you work on that monthly payment plan until it's paid in full. So moving into the admissions requirements, to be eligible to apply to any of the graduate programs, you must have worked in the industry for a minimum of a year, currently be employed, and have earned your bachelor's degree. So the only flexibility we're working with now is the employment. We know that due to COVID, a number of things have changed and circumstances have changed for individuals in the job market. So we are allowing some flexibility. If someone has a background in cybersecurity but is unemployed, we will still consider them for the program. It might even be the best time for them to start. So that is something that we are leaning towards being very flexible on right now. If you're interested in applying, we accept the master's applications once a quarter. So as you can see here from this slide, February 1st, we just had our deadline and our applicants are now under review. Our next deadline would be May 1st, then August 1st, and November 1st. you will hear a decision on the 30 days after you apply. So that is a waiting period for every program. It's a 30-day waiting period. And then once you hear with a decision, you start to matriculate. There's a new student orientation. Everyone's assigned their own student advisor, and you begin classes after that. So we typically tell students to allow 60 days from the time they submit an application until they could start their first class. For the graduate and undergraduate certificates, we accept applications every month. So the 15th of every month, all the applications go to committee. It's still 30 days for decision. And again, courses start within 15 to 30 days after that. And this is our contact information. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today, and especially thank you, Brendan, for being part of this. Don't hesitate to reach out to our team at any time. We are here to help along the way, from literally just question and answers to application all the way through enrollment. You can see my team listed here. My name is Kim. We have Sarah, Holly, and Morgan. We all work together. Again, we're going to try to address a few questions right now, but we do have some time that we're available in our hallway channel when this is done. So just a few quick questions. Does each course consider a 3 credit hours? So each course, yes, each course, for the most part, the master's program has a couple nuances where you're working with 1 credit for a paper or potentially like a group project scenario. But most of our GIAC certification courses are all 3 credit courses. So here's a question. After attending the summits and workshops, are we provided with the credits, and can you get these credits as they lead to related degrees? You need to pass the GIAC certification, and you need to be enrolled in the graduate school to receive the graduate credit. So SANS.org has programs with associated GIACs, and those are great. You're earning that GIAC certification. But in order to get the graduate credit, you must be in the graduate school. We do accept a waiver credit of up to 25% of outside SANS.org credit towards any program. But again, that does have to be still in an enrolled program at the graduate school. Someone asked, yes, if you've taken a couple courses, for instance, SEC 401, 501, 504, do they count towards the certificate programs? So the answer is yes, but at a 25% capped maximum. So for a graduate program, that 25% is 1 SANS GIAC associated course. You will earn the 3 credits for it and receive, credit for it in the program. But we don't accept over that 25% limit. In the master's program, you're allowed to have 3 credits, 3 classes, that would count for 3 credits each. So it's a total of 9 that can be waived into the master's program. But just to be clear, if you were taking courses at the graduate school, all of those courses would transfer at 100% into a master's degree. So I know that can get a little bit confusing along the way. All right. Let's see if we have time for one more. Somebody asked about scholarships. We don't give many scholarships away. There is, at the undergraduate level, there is a cyber fast track scholarship that is awarded twice a year to some participants, and that you can look at our website for details. But other than that, we don't work in scholarships or any kind of federal funding. So it is what we mentioned: the employer tuition reimbursement, GI Bill, and the tuition payment plan. So I think we're at our time, and I just wanted to thank everybody for being here today. Again, please feel free to come into the SANS hallway channel, and we will be there for a little while to answer any more questions. Hope you all have a great afternoon.